Hello and welcome. Tonight, federal government makes true its promise, releases list of recovered looted funds without the names of the looters. Kano Police Command apprehend 2 suspects in the murder of a 75-year-old woman in the state. President Muhammadu Buhari condemns the killing in Kano, promises that justice would be done in the matter. And tributes pouring from across the world for 3-time world heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali, who's died at 74.
On business news tonight, overnight rate at the interbank market closes the week at an average of 3%.
Alan Sports News, 22-year-old Spaniard Garbine Muguruza upsets top seed Serena Williams in straight sets to win her first Grand Slam and French Open title.
I'm Sulaiman Aled. We'll begin tonight with this news that the federal government has finally released the interim report on funds and assets recovered from individuals who it says looted the nation's treasury. According to a statement from the Office of the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the total cash recoveries comes to the sum of 78.3 billion naira, $185.1 million, 3.5 million pounds and 11,000 euros from May the 29th, 2015 to 25th May 2016. The statement also discloses that the recoveries under the interim feature, that is cash and assets during the period, is 126.56 billion naira, $9 billion, 2.4 million pounds and 303,303 euros. The statement says that based on the interim report on the financial and assets recoveries made by the various government agencies within the same period, the funds awaiting return from foreign jurisdictions total $321.3 million, 6.9 million pounds and 11,826 euros. According to the statement, non-cash recoveries made up of farmlands, plots of land, uncompleted buildings, completed buildings, vehicles and maritime vessels totaling 239. The report is restated by authors trolled by the criticisms of the federal government's failure to publish figures of recovered funds and assets on May the 29th, as earlier promised. Members of the civil society organization have begun to react to the report of the federal government's recovered funds and assets. The Minister of Information and Culture earlier today, through a press statement, says the federal government has recovered over 78 billion naira in cash, in addition to other recoveries in foreign currencies and assets. But some members of the civil society organizations have expressed disappointment over the amount recovered so far and why the names of the looters were not published in the report.
It was in May this year that President Muhammadu Buhari promised to speak on what the government had recovered so far from those who looted the treasury in the last administration. He told journalists on the sideline of the International Anti-Corruption Summit in the United Kingdom that he would do that on May the 29th.
So far, what has come out, what has been recovered in whatever currency, from which ministry, from which department, from which individuals. I intend on the 29th to speak on this.
May the 29th came, and President Buhari made his broadcast, but no list of looters or recovered funds was published. This sparked off several criticisms from the masses, mounting pressure on the government to publish the list of looters and the amount recovered so far. Finally, the government at the weekend released an interim report on the financial and assets recoveries in the last 1 year. Over 78 billion naira in cash, in addition to other recoveries in foreign currencies and assets. But some members of the civil society organizations have expressed disappointment over the amount recovered.
I think, like I said earlier, a step in the right direction, but they need to put more pressure. Because by now, Nigerians may have expected that we have had much more bigger money, maybe running into some trillions, which will help us to fund the deficit in the federal budget or even fund the deficit in the budget of states.
If in 365 days, the president or the EFCC and co were only able to recover about 78 point something billion naira, if they do this in 3 years, is this sufficient enough to amass all these resources to supplement the budgetary provisions? Because we know that the president did say that yes, financing our budget will require a recovery of assets, recovery of loot.
There are mixed reactions, however, as to the exclusion of names of the looters from the report.
Did the federal government recover these funds from ghosts? They didn't recover them from ghost or from spirit. They recovered them from individuals. And these individuals forfeited this. Therefore, they have admitted that the resources that they have within their exclusive possession is not theirs. So I don't see any legal implication. They have admitted that they are criminals. So there is no legal implication in the federal government saying we have recovered X amount of money from so-so person.
We don't need essentially to start publishing the names, except where the matters have been concluded and there may be no more channels of appeal. Then we can get to know from who and who monies have been recovered. But if they're still the ones that are pending, I don't think it's necessary to start publishing names.
In the last 1 year, the anti-corruption drive of the government has seen high-profile public officers charged to court in a bid to recover looted funds.
We're now being joined on the News at 10 by Professor Epiphany Azinge, his member, Commonwealth Arbitration Tribunal. Good to have you join us on the News at 10. Professor Azinge, quickly tell us, what was your initial reaction when this list broke this morning?
Well, not one of surprise. I felt that was the right way to go, in the sense that no right-thinking person will expect that give and take the names of the affected individuals will be published. I think one of the people that spoke earlier alluded to that fact, that it is totally unacceptable when the matter is still ongoing and people have not been clearly indicted in the court of law, that their names should be published as such. And mark you, we are aware that this has been clearly marked as interim report of financial and assets recoveries. So it is not conclusive, so to speak. And to that extent, I believe that no responsible government will engage in the drama of naming and shaming just to pander to the dictates of the public. So I feel that the government has done the right thing by giving out to the public the amounts recovered so far, and then not going as far as naming the people that are responsible. Going further, I will say that it is clear from the categorizations that a large amount of money was recovered from the Central Bank of Nigeria by the EFCC, ICPC, from the breakdowns that we saw. And what that means, in effect, is that there was no clear-cut engagement with the persons in question. It was a direct recovery from the CBN. And one wouldn't, without clear engagement with such individuals, go to the extent of trying to mention some of those names. Nobody is saying that names should not be mentioned at the appropriate time, but we may have to wait until the processes are completed and people are clearly indicted or convicted, as the case may be, before we can go to that extent. And mark you, some of the people in question may also want to be used by the prosecuting authorities, either as prosecution witnesses. Some may have been plea bargained by the appropriate authorities, and there might also be some that are in contemplation in terms of trying to come forward to obviously forfeit their loots.
So, Professor Azinge, allow me comment here quickly.
As far as I'm concerned, will be slight.
Just allow me comment here. A lot of people are wondering, asking the question of the legal implication of bringing up this list without telling us those people that should be by now be before the law courts. Why are we not seeing prosecutions? Because if you look at the list, it doesn't look like a list that tallies with what we have in the courts at the moment.
Well, you know that prosecution cannot commence unless investigation has been concluded. So we take it that those that are before the courts are those that investigation has concluded. It may well be that some of these ones that we have seen now, that investigation is still on that process, and it will be difficult for us to match whatever is in court with what is on paper. But give and take, I want to say clearly and categorically that I still believe that it will be irresponsible for government at this point in time to publish names of persons where investigation has not been concluded and the matter is not finalized in the court of law.
Very quickly before I let you go, what do you think this will mean before the international community and the general public?
Well, like I said, we shouldn't be involved in the drama of naming and shaming just to pander to the dictates of either the public or international committee. I believe that wise counsel seem to have prevailed, and superior arguments have also prevailed in the sense that the Office of the Attorney General and all the other people that are well disposed to advise government may have clearly indicated that naming and publishing names is not the right way to go legally. I'm sure that the process can still have the same steam and still run its full course without these names being published. At this point in time, in the fullness of time, I'm sure those names will be published when all the legal niceties must have been taken care of.
And I think that Nigerians would love to know the legal implication of naming some of those people. If you say this man X has taken this or returned this X amount of money.
Well, my fear is that unless conclusively investigated, it may bother on what may end up as either malicious prosecution, for which somebody can go to court and seek damages. And to avoid such ugly incidents and situations, I feel that it is now proper for investigation and prosecution to be concluded so that people are clearly indicted in the eyes of the law and before man that, yes, they actually committed this offense. This money was clearly taken. And we try as much as possible to avoid using the word looted. And I'm happy that government in its publication clearly indicated recovery of assets. I believe that is a much more responsible language. So let us not over-dramatize the issue by thinking of loot and looters, as the case may be. Like I said, we are within the bounds of responsibility if we clearly work with the issue of interim report on financial and assets recoveries. And the categorization given by government seems to serve the purpose clearly.
I'd like to thank you very much, Professor Epiphany Azinge, member Commonwealth Arbitration Tribunal. Clearly, you've opened another vista of argument concerning words used, looters and recoveries of funds. Well, in part two, after the break, the police in Edo State apprehend suspects in the violence that erupted in the campus of LG Polytechnic a few days ago. Stay with us.